Everybody has to see this. The entire saga, the pressure that's been put on everybody to adhere to pronouns, to respect transgender identity, to share your bathroom with a grown man who's hairy and scary. That whole deal, okay? There is a plan in place to push this. There is a reason why the fear mongering is perpetuated. And the reason is it has nothing to do with gender. It has everything to do with transhumanism.
John Stryker, head of Arcus Foundation, comes out of banking. There's no Harvey Milk character here. Do you know what I mean? There's no grassroots activist here. These are all uber businessmen. Our sex is being actually deconstructed. It's not just an idea, an ideology. It's actually happening. They are removing young women's reproductive organs at major hospitals. So sex is actually medically being deconstructed, as well as ideologically and legally and linguistically in the culture. So you have a profiteering motive, absolutely. Drugs, surgeries, surgery equipment, and not just the hormones and the puberty blockers, but you have antibiotics, you have anti-rejection medications, you have myriad surgeries that people want to have after they have this attack, basically, on their sex, a medical attack on their sex. Then they want to get their neck done, and they want to get their Adam's apple gone, and they want to have their jaw shaved off, and it's like a compulsion.
We have to nip this thing in the bud. The question should not be, is my child a boy or a girl? The question is, why does everybody care so much about this now? That's the question we need to be asking ourselves. Why is this so important? Why all of a sudden do we need to know whether or not we're a girl or a boy?
Well, in the 1940s, this guy William Sims Bainbridge was born. He graduated Harvard as a sociology professor. He's written many, many, many books about cults, religions, technology, and he now works at the head of the National Science Foundation's Cyber Human program, human cyber melding. And you can see this trajectory in the along late 1990s, early 2000s. There was a big shift in the culture from data from the digital age and the information age, and it sort of moved into artificial intelligence, transhumanism, robots, nanotechnology, biotechnology, etc. So this is kind of where we're going now. This is like the future trajectory of this. But Silicon Valley has been pushing a transhumanist agenda for since the early 2000s, late 1990s.
They want people to be comfortable with body modification because the idea is to eventually connect the human with the machine. They want cyborgism. That's even a thing.
We're going to be uploaded into cyberspace. Well, in order to sell that to the public, transhumanism and disembodiment as a life, you're going to have to groom them and get them there. And the way to do that is to create this ideology that says that you can choose your sex.
Right now, if somebody started walking around with a bionic arm saying, I got upgraded, that would scare everyone.
The very first gender bill, which brings disembodiment into the law, the sexual objectification of female biology, into parts, and making a human right out of that.
Okay, so they're doing this in stages. They need people to be comfortable with upgrading.
Well, where he's going is full-on disembodiment, where everybody lives in cyberspace. We live in a virtual reality. We don't live in our bodies anymore.
And they're only going to be comfortable with upgrading if it seems like there's this moral dynamic that's being solved by using medicine to help ourselves improve. Transgender people, true people that are suffering from gender dysphoria, are victims of this mission to improve the population through technology. In my opinion, the real problem is that people don't see this, that no one's really following the money. parents are like, oh my goodness, I need to really sit down with my child and figure out, where he's headed, what gender he or she really is. Not knowing that all these gender clinics just happened to pop up right when all these gender policies were passed, right when all of these gender videos were posted on YouTube and gender trolls were launched on Twitter. All this kind of happened at the same time.
And this has only happened in the past 10 years. I mean, before this, we didn't hear about this word. We didn't hear transgenderism. We didn't even hear transsexual. 2014, Laverne Cox was on the cover of Time magazine, owned by Mark Benioff. And, it announced a transgender tipping point when there was really nothing preceding that to warrant that would be a tipping point. 2014. It was just like dropped fully formed into the culture. And then from then on, it was just like a chant over and over and over and over and over again. You heard transgender rights are human rights, trans rights are human rights. These huge NGOs, these very huge, powerful non-governmental organizations serving the LGB community worked hand in hand with international law firms like Hogan Lovells and Dentons and Reuters Next Law and Open Society Foundation lawyers to start to create legal guides for transgender children. So they start to build this edifice of transgender children to drive this narrative.
That's a little too perfect. Why aren't parents thinking about this? It's not all of a sudden that once you hit the year 2020, the 21st century, all of a sudden, these kids are going to start rethinking who they are genderly. They're going to start wondering if they really truly are a male or a female. And that's only going to happen post 2010. That's insane. A mental problem doesn't just take off in a specific century on its own.
That you can be born in the wrong body. And so we heard all these, initial stories about these poor children born in the wrong bodies, right? Which is now, a decade later has morphed into just express yourself, right? You can be male, you can be female, you can be non-binary, you can, have both your genitalias. And this is all about self-expression now. So it's really morphed in the course of 10 years into the right to augment yourself in whatever way you see fit.
This is a symptom of another problem.
Bainbridge's technological religious cult meets Rothblatt's fetish. And they both take off together, and they're both now in the techno-medical field here, right? And they drive this religion, and it is a cult. They're driving it over media, and people are buying it. I mean, sane people that are intelligent people are going, yes, you can be born in the wrong body.
That's anti-nature, okay? For all these people out here saying they support the planet and they want things to go back to the natural way of living, this is not it. The transgender movement is not supporting the natural way of being. It's supporting a transhumanism agenda. And that needs to be recognized. And guess what, boys and girls? Us millennials, us Gen Zers, our issue is not going to be whether or not our daughter wants to be a boy or a girl. Our issue is going to be whether our daughter wants to be a car or a spaceship or some other kind of robot. I don't want that to be a problem for us.
This project has, is backed by big finance, big pharma, big tech, and all the corporations, international finance houses, international law firms. They're all driving the same narrative. And you have to ask yourself, why would this happen in the span of 10 years?